Welcome to the first episode of our channel, where we delve into the intricate shifts and emerging trends that shape our world. Today, we're exploring how global power dynamics are changing and what these shifts mean for countries around the globe. Let's begin by revisiting the 19th century, a period often celebrated as Britain's golden age. At this time, the British Empire held considerable sway over global affairs. With its extensive empire, Britain's influence extended far beyond its shores, affecting international trade, politics, and culture. More than 20% of the world's population lived within the territories controlled by Britain, marking an era of unparalleled British dominance and expansion. As we transitioned into the 20th century, the geopolitical landscape began to shift. The United States emerged as the dominant global power, gradually supplanting Britain's preeminence. This shift was marked by the establishment of key institutions and frameworks that continue to shape global relations today. The US dollar became the world's primary reserve currency, and institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the Group of Seven, G7, and the SWIFT network for international financial transactions were created. These American-led systems have had a profound impact on global finance, trade, and diplomacy. Fast forward to the 21st century, and we see a dramatic transformation unfolding. China is increasingly stepping into a leading role on the world stage, challenging the long-standing dominance of Western powers. This shift is becoming more visible as traditional Western institutions like the G7 show signs of weakening. Recent actions by countries such as Canada and Italy illustrate this evolving global landscape. Both nations are seeking to bolster their economic and political ties with China, signaling a significant shift in international alliances. One of the most notable examples of this realignment is Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's recent visit to Beijing. This visit is not merely a diplomatic formality, but a strategic move aimed at strengthening Italy's economic relationship with China. Meloni's visit underscores her commitment to fostering closer ties with China, reflecting a broader trend of European countries reassessing their positions in response to China's rising influence. It's important to note that Meloni enjoys substantial support from her constituents, which could be crucial as she navigates these complex international relationships. The European Union is grappling with its own set of economic challenges. The EU's economic stability is increasingly in question, and the outcome of upcoming political developments could have significant implications. If former President Donald Trump were to return to power, his administration might initiate a global trade war, potentially disrupting international trade and economic stability. On the other hand, if Vice President Kamala Harris ascends to the presidency, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine could continue unabated, leading to prolonged economic difficulties and inflationary pressures within the EU. Italy's economic situation is particularly precarious. The country is facing a severe budget deficit, which stood at 7.2% last year. To avoid penalties from the EU, Italy needs to reduce this deficit to 3%. In light of these economic pressures, China represents a critical opportunity for Italy. Despite Italy's recent withdrawal from China's Belt and Road Initiative, Meloni's visit to Beijing signifies a strategic effort to rejuvenate and strengthen economic ties with China. This move suggests a significant recalibration of Italy's foreign policy as it seeks to navigate the economic challenges it faces. This strategic shift by Italy is indicative of broader European concerns about the changing global power dynamics. The potential return of Trump could have far-reaching consequences for European economies, particularly if his plans to attract European companies to the US through various incentives and taxes come to fruition. Such a scenario could have a profound impact on Italy's manufacturing sector, which is a vital component of the country's economy. As these global dynamics continue to evolve, Countries like Italy are carefully maneuvering to secure their economic futures and realign their international partnerships. The rise of China and the potential shifts in US political leadership are reshaping the landscape of global power, and European nations are actively adjusting their strategies in response to these changes. The United States might experience a notable increase in manufacturing job opportunities in the near future. This potential growth is part of a broader shift in global economic dynamics, particularly involving the relationship between Italy and China. Italy is actively seeking to boost its trade with China, but there are several complexities and challenges involved. One of the key issues is Italy's concern about investment flows coming to Rome from southern regions of Italy, which may not be as advantageous as other investment sources. Currently, approximately 1/3 of Italian investments in China are made by Chinese nationals who reside in Italy. This situation reflects a significant flow of capital from China to Italy, but Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is determined to address this imbalance. She aims to close this investment gap, yet she faces a major obstacle: resolving contentious issues with Brussels regarding the pricing of electric vehicles, EVs. This issue is critical because it affects Italy's ability to attract and retain investment in the EV sector, which is a major focus for the country. China plays a dominant role in the global manufacturing sector and has established itself as a central hub for production. It can effectively produce goods and employ labor in Europe without making substantial investments in the region. This is due to China's position as a major global production center, with technology that often surpasses that of the European Union in various respects. In recent times, China has concentrated its investments primarily in Western countries to gain access to their markets. However, Chinese investment in the Eurozone has seen a dramatic decline. From approximately 50 billion euros in investments in 2016, the figure has plummeted to less than 8 billion euros today. The steep decline in Chinese investment has led to a significant reduction in Chinese mergers and acquisitions within Europe. The only new Chinese investments in the Eurozone are currently focused on building electric vehicle production plants from scratch. This type of investment is particularly relevant to Italy, which is eager to develop its own EV production capabilities. If Europe continues to openly support the United States, there is a risk that China might halt its investments in European Union countries and redirect its focus to other markets. This shift could be further influenced by geopolitical tensions, especially if the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, makes threats to seize Chinese assets. In this context, United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken has echoed the famous "with us or against us" stance articulated by President George W. Bush. Blinken emphasized the importance of engaging in multilateral diplomacy, suggesting that nations need to be actively involved in international discussions to avoid being sidelined. This perspective highlights the ongoing strategic rivalry between the United States and China, which requires careful management by all involved nations. China is not reassured by Europe's claims that it might distance itself from the United States. The sanctions imposed by the United States do not affect Chinese operations within Italy, but Europe needs to promptly adjust its trade policies to address the shifting economic landscape. For instance, Germany's exports to China fell by 14% in May, indicating broader economic shifts and the changing nature of global trade relationships. China, as a low-cost producer, is rapidly expanding its value chain and offering high-quality products at competitive prices. The electric vehicle sector is a prime example of how China can thrive without relying on Western imports. Despite new tariffs introduced in July, Chinese electric vehicles have achieved a record market share of 11% in Europe. The rise in Chinese auto imports demonstrates the strong demand for Chinese products within the European Union. Italy faces a crucial decision: whether to continue its geopolitical maneuvers or to forge closer cooperation with China to reap the benefits of increased trade and investment. If Italy chooses to collaborate more closely with China, it could attract additional Chinese investors and benefit economically from these partnerships. In addition to these trade and investment considerations, there is another significant development. A major Asian nation is poised to join the BRICS group, which is led by China. For more than a month, there have been rumors about Malaysia's interest in becoming a member of the BRICS bloc. Russian Minister Lavrov is currently in Malaysia to discuss this potential membership. Russia, which is chairing BRICS this year, is actively working to expand the bloc by supporting a Southeast Asian nation's accession to this China-led economic group. The official announcement of Malaysia's inclusion in BRICS could come as soon as October. This expansion represents a significant challenge to Western interests, as the United States' Indo-Pacific policy is aimed at containing China's influence in the region. Finally, while Western opinion polls, such as those conducted by the Pew Research Center, suggest that the United States is more popular than China on a global scale, this perception changes when focusing specifically on Southeast Asia. According to the Jusuf-Isk Institute, countries in Southeast Asia generally prefer China over the United States, indicating a different regional perspective on international alignments and relationships. Recent developments in Malaysia are gaining significant attention. Following a recent meeting between Prime Minister Anwar and Lavrov, a representative from BRICS, a delegation from BRICS, including Russian officials, is anticipated to visit Malaysia in the coming weeks. Ambassador Bodro has disclosed that Russia has already invested approximately $16 billion in Malaysia. This burgeoning trade relationship indicates a shift away from the US dollar towards other currencies in international trade. Given Malaysia's strategic position in Southeast Asia, its role as a crucial trade and economic hub in the region is becoming even more pronounced. Should Malaysia move away from its reliance on the US dollar, it would deliver a considerable blow to the United States' influence and credibility in the region, potentially more significant than the impact of former Philippine President Duterte's departure from office. Like many other nations in Asia, Malaysia is increasingly distancing itself from US-centric policies. Prime Minister Anwar has been advocating for a more balanced and neutral foreign policy approach, encouraging countries to avoid becoming too aligned with any single major power. In March, Malaysia took part in an ASEAN conference hosted in China, underscoring its commitment to engaging with China and other key players in the region. Additionally, Prime Minister Anwar has secured agreements with prominent global companies such as Tesla and Huawei, with the goal of attracting $20 billion in investments to Malaysia. This move aligns with Malaysia's broader strategy to enhance its economic ties with other major economies. The increasing capability of China, Russia, and countries in the Middle East to facilitate trade in local currencies poses an additional challenge to the US. Currently, 53% of Malaysia's trade with China is conducted in Chinese yuan, RMB, while 43% is conducted in US dollars. Nearby countries have demonstrated a readiness to transition from USD to RMB for their trade dealings with China, reflecting a broader trend that could undermine the US dollar's dominance in global trade. With the US national debt exceeding $33 trillion and annual interest payments reaching $1 trillion, the potential shift away from the dollar by other nations could exacerbate the US's financial challenges and accelerate the risk of national insolvency. In addition to decreasing reliance on the US dollar, Malaysia is also exploring the possibility of joining the BRICS group. This move is part of Malaysia's broader strategy to strengthen economic relations with China, particularly in the semiconductor industry. Malaysia has set a highly ambitious target to triple its semiconductor exports, aiming to exceed $250 billion by the year 2030. Achieving this goal will require substantial investment and development. Penang, a major hub for semiconductor manufacturing in Malaysia, has already attracted over 13 billion in investments as of 2023, highlighting the region's growing importance in the global semiconductor supply chain. The semiconductor industry plays a crucial role in today's technology. It involves making microchips that power a wide range of devices, including computers, smartphones, cars, and household gadgets. Major companies like AMD and Intel are famous for producing these essential components. Malaysia is also working hard to grow its semiconductor sector, but faces several significant challenges. Currently, Malaysia is making progress, especially with the ongoing chip conflict between the United States and China. However, to become a major player in the global semiconductor market, Malaysia needs more financial investment and a highly skilled workforce. Despite the progress, Malaysia still faces significant obstacles that it needs to overcome. One of the main challenges is the high cost of setting up and maintaining a competitive semiconductor industry. Building a strong semiconductor sector requires a lot of money, especially for buying advanced equipment. For instance, lithography machines, which are crucial for making the most advanced chips, can cost up to $400 million each. There's only one major company that makes these machines, ASML, which is why only a few companies around the world can afford to produce high-end semiconductor chips. Malaysia needs to attract external investment to meet these challenges and achieve its semiconductor goals. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim of Malaysia has ambitious plans to use artificial intelligence, AI, to boost the country's technological capabilities and economic growth. However, carrying out these plans requires a lot of money, which Malaysia alone cannot provide. Therefore, attracting foreign investment is crucial for the growth of Malaysia's semiconductor industry. One important strategy for Malaysia is to increase the production of older types of chips, known as legacy chips, which are still widely used in many devices. China is a key player in this strategy due to its growing chip production capacity. Even though the US has placed restrictions on China's semiconductor industry, China continues to expand with plans to build 26 new semiconductor plants. These new plants will produce chips for various products like refrigerators, electric vehicles, and smartphones. To benefit from this growth, Malaysia needs to convince Chinese companies to invest in its semiconductor sector. It's important that Beijing feels its investments in Malaysia will be safe and not affected by US sanctions. Gaining this confidence is crucial for Malaysia as it aims to become a major player in the global semiconductor market. One possible approach for Malaysia is to join the BRICS group, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Being part of BRICS could open up new markets and opportunities for Malaysia. It would allow Malaysia to benefit from China's large investments in semiconductor production and avoid potential issues related to US sanctions. This move could help Malaysia produce and export chips more efficiently and access new markets like Brazil, Russia, and other BRICS countries. Global supply chains are changing significantly, with countries increasingly aligned in different economic and political groups. China has invested an impressive $142 billion in developing its semiconductor industry, which is much more than the European Union's investment of less than $50 billion and the US's investment of around $72 billion. Even Taiwan's semiconductor investment doesn't match China's large budget. In this shifting global landscape, Malaysia's goal of joining BRICS and becoming a semiconductor hub seems like a smart move. The main aim is to attract investment from Chinese chip manufacturers and strengthen Malaysia's semiconductor industry. With changes in global alliances, such as Canada engaging with Beijing and the UK adjusting its policies on Chinese electric vehicles, China is becoming a more attractive partner for countries looking to diversify their economies. As the world evolves, countries from the Global South and BRICS are likely to grow and increase their influence. It will be interesting to see which countries might build stronger ties with China next. Will it be France, the UK, or another country? And will Malaysia manage to join BRICS by 2024? I'd love to hear your thoughts and predictions on these developments. Share your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button to stay updated on these evolving global dynamics. Stay safe and stay informed as we navigate these changing times.